This video is about the edit modes. You can find these in the upper left-hand corner of your edit window. 4 modes are shuffle, slip, spot, and grid. The modes define what happens to sound files as you edit or move them. In terms of key commands, there's several ways you can easily get around between the different modes. You can hit the tilde key and it will toggle between them, or you can hit the first 4 function keys. You can hit F1 for shuffle, F2 for slip, F3 for spot, F4 for grid. The first one is shuffle. Remember, we can hit F1 for shuffle, or we could just click on it. What happens with shuffle, when you make an editorial change, it is going to collapse the files towards the beginning of the session. This is great if you're trying to take out space. For example, with this particular project, I have this part at the end where I made a mistake and I started over. So what I can do is highlight over the space and just hit delete, and then it's going to collapse the things that are to the right and collapse them to the left. The other thing that I can do is I can reorder things and then have them collapse together as well. So let's say I wanted to take this section and I wanted to move it to the end. It would take the part at the end and it would allow me to switch places and have them collapse back together. Shuffle mode can be dangerous, particularly if you're working in post-production stuff where things need to stay in sync with picture, because it is sliding the audio along the timeline and collapsing it towards the beginning. If you want to have more control over that, slip mode is a better choice. The thing that's good about slip mode, if I were to take out a section, I can just highlight it and then delete it, and it leaves the sentences where they are. Sometimes this can be useful. Slip mode also allows me to move things and they'll just stay exactly wherever I put them. The other thing about slip mode, which is useful, is that it allows me to move it freely along the timeline. So I don't have to stay exactly within a grid point. I could put it somewhere in between, it doesn't matter. So right here, I'm between 2 frames, and that's okay if you're in slip mode. Spot mode allows you to just click on a clip and put it at a precise location. So let's say I wanted to put it right at 1 hour maybe. I can just type in the time code location I want it to go, and then it'll move precisely there. And you can see that the beginning of that clip is now at 1 hour. This is also good for music if you're editing choruses and you know exactly what bar and beat you're moving things to. If you ever click on something and you keep getting the spot dialog, it's because you're in spot mode. That can be sort of annoying. It's usually best to just leave things in slip. Now, grid works in a very similar way to slip. The difference between grid is it will only allow you to move along whatever your grid value is. My grid value here is 1 frame, and you can see how this won't allow me to put it in between. It allows me to move it precisely to a grid location, which is nice if I'm looking for a precise location, but it can be a tiny bit annoying as well. So these are the 4 modes. Shuffle, that is going to collapse sound files towards the beginning as you remove stuff, or if you move stuff, it's going to reorder it, but it's going to collapse everything towards the beginning. Slip allows you to move freely anywhere you want in the session, and you can cut to a precise location even if it's not a grid value. Spot allows you to put things at a particular precise location by typing in a number. And then grid, it's pretty much the same thing as slip, except it requires you to cut precisely on a grid. The key commands to get around this, you can hit the tilde key and it will toggle between them, or you can hit F1 for shuffle, F2 for slip, F3 for spot, F4 for grid.